We have some breaking news. The Celtics have made a massive trade and it has finally happened following a bunch of rumors. So it's been a crazy 24 hours. Kristaps Porziņģis is gone. He is no longer a Celtics. He has been traded. We're going to break down the full return, but also discuss what this means going forward, as not only are more moves coming, this trade has some very intriguing implications on this team. We're going to break all that down in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Celtics content, folks. This trade dropped just minutes ago, and we're keeping you up to date with all the latest news. You guys have been absolutely fantastic with the support. You've been beasts. Man, I'm excited. You can tell I'm fired up because guess what happened, folks? Kristaps Porziņģis is gone. Now, this is a very interesting one, and what's been a crazy 24 hours for the Boston Celtics, for the fan base, everything. Jrue Holiday, gone. Didn't get them under the luxury tax. They still had a lot of work to do there. They managed to pull off a trade. You can see it here. Atlanta, Brooklyn, and Boston are finalizing a three-team trade that sends Kristaps Porziņģis in a second-round pick to the Hawks, Terrence Mann and Atlanta's number 22 pick to the Nets, and Gorgas Niang in a second-rounder to the Celtics. And we're going to dive into the trade and everything here. Can we take a moment to applaud Brad Stevens for not getting out of the luxury tax yet, but getting out of the second apron and getting rid of Kristaps Porziņģis and Jrue Holiday without giving up any valuable assets? They managed to pull off what I believed was a little bit, not impossible, but very difficult. And if you've been following the channel for a while here, and we're going to dive into Gorgas Niang, you're also going to want to stay tuned to the end of the video. There's some new reports about more moves coming. We're going to dive into everything regarding that a little bit later. But right now, I want to touch on the fact that for this specific, obviously for this specific move, they didn't have to give up first round pick. And that is the biggest thing in the world here. They didn't give up a first round pick in the Jrue Holiday trade. They didn't give up a first round pick in the Kristaps Porziņģis trade. And you never really thought, I never really thought that Kristaps was going to have to, require an asset attached to get rid of him. Jrue Holiday absolutely did. But this concludes now 48 hours of an absolute fleece for Brad Stevens. I truly believe that. And this trade right here isn't as much of a robbery as I believe the Jrue Holiday trade was, even though it does make some sense for, the Portland Trail Blazers as well. The Celtics now shed some salary here, but also don't give up any, valuable, super valuable assets. And not only that, they get Gorgas Niang back, who we're going to discuss. And let's dive into some of the implications here. There's a ton of things to go over. But let's start with this. The Jrue Holiday trade didn't shed much salary, but this one does the rest of the work. The Celtics could still do more maneuvering to get under the luxury tax, but they are in a good spot now going into the draft. Trading Kristaps Porziņģis now puts Boston under the second apron. The Porziņģis and Jrue Holiday trade saved Boston a projected $180 million in tax penalties. Folks, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And at this point, we're going to dive into the actual return and, what it means here. Basically seconds, some salary. It was essentially a salary dump for the Celtics, but they do also get back Gorgas Niang, and could be a useful player. We'll dive into him in a minute. I just want to reiterate here, Brad Stevens has done a fantastic job, and let me know in the comment section right now, are you happy with the job Brad Stevens has done? You get rid of two of the guys, one of which was owed a ton of money, $150 million. Now, Kristaps owed $30.7 million. You get rid of him. You don't give up a first-round pick. Give up a second rounder, but you also get a second rounder back. And then Gorgas Niang you get as well. I can't think of a cleaner job by the Celtics, front office here. And you look at their offseason roster and their plan before this Kristaps trade, their projected salary is $226. You can, subtract $30.7 million from that. They're now under the first apron, they get out of the second apron, which is crucial. They're still, within the first apron, but it's important. And now heading into the draft tomorrow, the Celtics are at a point where they can really start to do some intriguing things now, and they set themselves up, superbly. You can see this here, way more to come, but the Celtics are now out of the second apron by $4.5 million. The Celtics are $7.4 million over the first apron and are about $15.4 million over the luxury tax. So they still have a lot of work to do for the luxury tax, and more moves are to come because they haven't gotten themselves out of that yet. But they're still, over the first apron, but they got out of the second apron. And that was, of course, one of, we know that they were going to get rid of both these guys. That was one of the mini goals within all this, is to get out of that second apron. And again, I'm covering the channel. I thought they were going to have to give up picks to get rid of Jrue Holiday. Didn't happen. Maybe you'd have to give up picks depending on what the value is of Kristaps Porziņģis within league circles. We know as Celtics fans, Kristaps was very solid at times, injury prone. How many teams would be willing to take on that contract? There was a team willing to. And let's dive into Gorgas Niang a little bit here, because last season for the Hawks, he averaged 12 points a game. I believe he came over the deadline. He's a very useful player. And of course, lost within all this, do I think he's as good as Porziņģis? No. Do I think he's going to contribute a ton to winning? That's yet to be seen. He's a bench power forward. He's a bench forward. The Celtics don't have a center right now, so maybe he'll be asked to elevate and play a little bit more. And with, Jayson Tatum out, depending what they do with Jaylen Brown, talks are picking up there. Regardless of that, the Celtics are in a fantastic, spot here. And you snag somebody who I'm not going to sit here and like overhype. Gorgas Niang, he's not going to do a ton for this team. But for a team who doesn't have Kristaps Porziņģis, Al Horford, pending free agent, Luke Cornett, pending free agent, Torrey Craig, pending free agent, and Sam Hauser probably going to get traded to shed even more salary to work towards getting under the luxury tax. Like all these different things, you are now in a position where any player you can get back is pretty useful. And a starting lineup right now, as you put it in, Derrick White, Anthony Simons, Jaylen Brown. That's about all you got. And you could put in Neemias Queta there as your starting five at this juncture because he's the only one who is capable really or is going to be playing the center position who is under contract right now in this moment, right? And it's useful. And I think him as a player, he'll probably stay. Do they try to flip him? Yeah, it's up in the air. We don't really know what the Celtics' plan is yet. They could go on a full tear now and trade, Jaylen Brown. Of course, they have the 28th overall pick, the 32nd overall pick, a couple of essentially first rounders, late first rounders. What are they going to do in the draft tomorrow? That's obviously a big question. We'll have videos coming on that tomorrow morning. But I like the move, and it's one that was necessary. Brad Stevens pulls off a bit of a masterclass once again, and I'm happy with the fact that he was able to go out and get rid of two of the guys that we knew they were going to trade. Like, the league knew they had to trade them. The Celtics had no leverage here at all, zero. And they didn't give up any first-round picks in the dumping of these guys. And would you maybe have liked to get a little bit more value out of Kristaps Porziņģis, given what you gave up to get him, and given how useful in theory he could be? Sure, maybe you could argue that, but you got out of him. You didn't have to give up a first round pick. You get someone back who's capable of salary matching essentially, and now like this team is ready to take the next step in the right direction. And ultimately, that's what's going to be the difference here between this Boston Celtics team being, again, they're not under the luxury tax, but they're out of the second apron. They still have some work to do. And the key here from Keith Smith is way more to come. Again, I've been kind of not preaching at all. I don't really want it to happen, but there's been rumblings about a Jaylen Brown trade. Is that something that's on the horizon now? Shed some more salary, maybe try to retool, rebuild around the draft tomorrow. 24 hours away from the draft. Things are really starting to, pick up a little bit here, and it's going to be a little bit crazy. And at the end of the day, folks, let me know down below what your thoughts are. What do you think on Gorgas Niang? Do you think that's going to, just salary matching, of course, but do you think that's going to be anything interesting? Also, what do you think about Brad Stevens being able to get rid of these guys, get out of the second apron without giving up a single first-round pick? They keep them. Heading into the draft tomorrow, they're in a fantastic spot. And folks, more moves are to come, and we're going to keep you up to date every step of the way. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. This trade dropped minutes ago, and we're getting it out for you as fast as possible, as fast as on YouTube. Folks, it's crazy. Things are crazy, and we'll see what's to come. Jaylen Brown trade. More things are on the horizon here, and it's going to be crazy because I genuinely believe that a big trade is coming here, and first of many, second of many now, and I think third of many is going to be on the horizon, according to Bobby Marks and Jay King. But that'll wrap it up. You guys are beasts. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.